Hello, everyone. Welcome to Durrett's Take. Let's get started. So before I continue, I just want to remind you that on Thursday evening this week is the NBA draft. It'll be interesting to see where players go since this is a very deep draft. So I'm very much looking forward to it. So I just want to remind you of that. But now let's talk some football. As players are starting to report to training camp and all that, and everything's getting set away, there's a couple players that we didn't know about if they're going to return or not, and they are. One is Deshaun Watson for the Texans. He's reporting camp, but he's still requesting trade, and now the Texans have finally said they're willing and going to give in to trade Deshaun Watson. I don't know why they waited this long to kind of acknowledge the writing on the wall, but at least they finally done it. Unlike Green Bay, but I'll get to that in a little bit. They're looking for either high 5 draft picks or, like let's say at least 3 and then some valuable starters, in return. If Watson's a great player, he's the 6th best quarterback in the NFL in my opinion. But you have to be careful if you're trading for him not to give up too much, especially since the Texans basically have to trade him. Like they've showed their cards, they're gonna have to trade him, so you should not be having to give it too much. You should be lowballing him, and also with if Deshaun's gonna play or not sit out year, that also factors in as well. But nevertheless, I have come up with my top 5 trading destinations for Deshaun Watson. Keep in mind, these have to be realistic options. So teams with either multiple first-rounders or a lot of star players to give up that they want to unload, stuff like that. The problem, though, is that since they waited so long, the options are kind of limited. We will know more after this season, which teams are more likely to be in the market for Deshaun Watson. But right now it's not a big market. So this list I include would have some teams that won't pull the trigger necessarily right now, but maybe at either the trade deadline or next offseason. So let's start with number 1. So number 1 is Miami. Again, this would not happen before the season started. But if by Thanksgiving or Christmas, Tua is struggling, or it's clear he's limited, he's not the guy, and Miami or misses the playoffs again with that Super Bowl caliber roster, then they might think next offseason, okay, we need to get Deshaun Watson. And for Watson, he would like it because there's no state income tax. There's Miami, good weather, good location, all that. They're a Super Bowl contender. And then for Houston, in return, so you can get 3 first-rounders from Miami. They have multiple first-rounders. Like, that's one of the teams that has multiple first-rounders. They can get those first-rounders. Then they get, let's say, a 3rd-round pick as well. And then Tua. And then they can get, like, a cornerback, Xavier Howard, who's not happy with his contract situation there, who's a star cornerback. So maybe something like that is a good deal. Next is Washington. I know it's not the best franchise to play for, but you're in the NFC East, so that's a very easy division. And then if you're Houston, you get to move into the other conference. That's good. And there was rumors reported that like if Trey Lance had fallen more, Washington would have gone up to take him. So they don't have a long-term plan of quarterback. And Ryan Fitzpatrick's not a long-term plan. He used Taylor Heinicke, and they have a playoff type of roster and a good head coach, so they can give away. Now they don't have the first rounders necessarily to give, but they can give away 3 first rounders, a 3rd, and then let's say Washington's like, take your pick on one of our 4 like really good defensive linemen. Take your pick on which one you want to have, and then that should be enticing for Houston. The next one is a team within the same division, the New York Giants. Again, if by the end of the season we know Daniel Jones is not the guy, and with all that talent on that roster on offense, then Deshaun Watson would make sense there. Again, NFC East, easy division. Giants have some picks to give away and players to give away. So let's say I would give up 3 first-rounders, a 2nd round, and then any Daniel Jones, and then any offensive player not named Saquon Barkley or Kenny Galladay, any other one they could have. I feel like that'd be a good enough offer. And then 4, I got Carolina. This is if Sam Darnold appears to be a bust after the season. Then this makes sense. Again, the NFL, you want to be close. It's nice for players to be close to home. In this case, Deshaun wants to be close to home because he's from Carolina. And then also, again, you're in the NFC if you're Houston. And then you can get some good players in return because Carolina, you can give up 3 first-round picks and let's say a 3rd-round pick. Then you can get Darnold. And then you can get, I think you can get Christian McCaffrey. And if you're Carolina, I'd be willing to give Christian McCaffrey up because you drafted running back from Oklahoma State, Chuba Hubbard, and he's a very good running back. I feel like, I mean, he's not as dynamic in the passing game per se as McCaffrey, but he's a very good running back. And then also McCaffrey, since he's so injury prone, it's like it's maybe time to move off him. And then McCaffrey might be enough for Houston to say, okay, yeah, let's do that. And then last but not least is Philly. So the only reason I'm including Philly in this is because a lot of reports have said they are the favorites to land it for whatever reason. I don't see why. If I'm Deshaun Watson, I don't see why I would go there. Because Philadelphia has picks to give up, but the problem is Philadelphia has so many holes in the roster that they need those picks to address them. Yes, I know it's Deshaun Watson. He's in division. Maybe he could stumble upon a win, but again, kind of like Washington, also just really bad ownership of franchise. So, I mean, I would stay with him, Watson, but for some reason that's been reported one of the favorites, so I have to put that there. The reason I did not include Denver is because I feel like Denver would rather wait a year and then go after Rodgers than do Deshaun Watson, in my opinion. And then another team that I thought about including was let's see, the Saints. Yeah, so I thought about including the Saints, but it's just like, man, the Saints don't really have the draft capital to give up, and they've already had to give up so many star players and all that. They just don't really have the assets to give up, although, Deshaun Watson and the Saints would be good. And then there's two dark horse teams to keep in mind here. One is Indianapolis. If Frank Reich can't fix Wentz after this season, the Colts Super Bowl window will eventually be running out of time, and that's what they're in right now. They're in the Super Bowl contender mode because they have a Super Bowl level roster. So if I'm the Colts and Wentz doesn't work out again this year, I know you just traded for him, but you need to go get yourself Deshaun Watson. It's an easy division in the AFC. Like that's the best case scenario. If I'm the Colts, go get Deshaun Watson. And then also another dark horse is the Falcons. Matt Ryan has 2 years left on his contract, but after that, it's like, who knows what's going to happen? He's 36. He's clearly not the future of the franchise. So if you're Deshaun Watson, it's like he doesn't have to be traded there until, let's say, next offseason. This is one of those situations, and then you can, be with a good offensive head coach and Arthur Smith, and then you're with a talented weapons like Kyle Pitts and Calvin Ridley, stuff like that. And then eventually in a year or 2, 3 years, eventually the roster as a whole is going to start to get better. So then it becomes a pretty good situation there. And then also, kind of like with Carolina, with Brady eventually going to retire in a couple years, the Saints figure out what they want to do. It's like this division, once Brady retires, could be up for grabs. And if you're Deshaun Watson, you can go to Carolina, Atlanta, like it's a pretty good option there. So we'll see what happens there. And then the other quarterback I want to talk about is coming back is Aaron Rodgers. So he will go back to Green Bay for this season. And the concession for Green Bay is that in 2022, they will let Rodgers decide what he wants to do or go from there. And then his 2023 year is avoided. So I predicted he would sit out this year, so I was wrong. And I'm not necessarily shocked by this news either, though. I think Green Bay will be good enough to get in the playoffs since their division's weak. But depending on the matchup, they could have, let's say an early playoff spot and an early playoff exit, in my opinion. I just feel like throughout the season, it's going to be hard to play as a cohesive unit and all that when you have one foot out the door. It's kind of like with Kevin Durrent. On Kevin Durant's last season with Golden State, he pretty much knew he was going to leave. And that's why Draymond Green called him out and said, hey, we won without you. We don't need you type of thing. So then the whole franchise is starting to walk on eggshells around Kevin Durant that final season. So I feel like that could be a case here with Aaron Rodgers. They're just walking on eggshells, They're talented enough to get in the playoffs, and I don't think they're going to talented enough to win the Super Bowl. But I feel like they're talented enough to get in the playoffs, especially with their easy division, but nothing more. Just because, again, when you have to walk on eggshells, when you have all that chaos and drama, it's just not good for the team. So we'll see what happens there. So thank you very much for listening to my podcast today. I forgot to say the other day, do go out to my LinkedIn profile. It's just Dallin Durrett, so Dallin is my first name, and then Durrett. Check out my LinkedIn, and I'm posting some articles there regarding conference realignment that I talked about the other day. I'll be posting future ones going in depth about my NFL predictions and college football predictions. I know I'm going to give you some of those predictions on my podcast, but since I only do 10 to 15 minute podcasts, I don't have a lot of time to go in depth. So if you want more in-depth coverage from me, go to my LinkedIn profile, look at some articles there. Well, thank you very much. Please subscribe to my channel. Tell everyone about me. Leave comments if you want to leave a comment. Thank you very much, and y'all have a wonderful day.